It's the first weekend in June. It's been 2 weeks since I did the last update. I was really busy last weekend putting in a bunch of transplants and stuff, so I got a lot of changes. So we'll go over them. The pears, pear tree number one here, has done very well. The pears are very large now. Most of them on this tree have this purplish hue to them, brownish stuff. And I've been completely neglecting my fruit trees. I still have not looked into that stuff. Hopefully now that I have all the garden in, I will be able to do that. But there's some little irregularities, chunks out of the leaf, whatnot like that. That's the biggest thing with it. So, a little blackening and stuff, so I will definitely need to give them some much needed attention. All my trees, basically. Since I've been working so hard to focus on the garden, I haven't had time to do that. So, and the cherry tree has had a complete transformation. You can see all the red fruit on it. So it is very, very leafy, and it's kind of hard to see with this time of day with the sun peeking up over the top there, but it's very, very lush, very green, and very red, and they're getting close to ripeness, but I don't think they're quite there yet. Now, one of the things I noticed is that the birds were starting to eat them, obviously, a lot. And the birds start eating them before they're actually ripe. And the thing with these cherries is they look red, but they're not quite ready. They have to be very dark red, almost getting a slight blackish hue before they're truly ripe with this variety. But one of the things that was really concerning me is these cherries look pretty good. The first ones actually that I went to look at, though, didn't look very good. They had a lot of the spots. And I'm going to go in the canopy here and then flip back around. So this part of the tree, you can see, this is kind of what I noticed at first. I didn't think we would have any, because these ones, they have all these spots in the leaves, and we got all these spots in the cherries. Like all these ones all have some sort of damage on them. And it's not bird damage, it's actually some sort of insect stuff going on. And so, as you can see under here, because it's a lot easier to see the cherries from underneath because the leaves aren't quite in the way as much, there's a lot of damage. And I don't know what it is. Never had any problems with worms or anything like that, but I'm not sure what it is. I'll have to look into that as well. But a lot of these spots on the leaves, and then looks like maybe it's just that one area, because these ones are looking okay. Anyway, so I have to figure that out, figure out what it is. But yeah, this whole area, as you can see, I'm not sure how good you can see with the contrast, but they're very damaged. Lots of little holes, which would mean insects, not birds. And over there's a ton of cherries as well, but they look okay. So it's just going to be a kind of a game, because the thing about cherries is they take a lot of time to pick. Very obviously time intensive, because you have to pick each little one. And if there's any sort of insect thing, it's not like it's an apple where you can cut it out and save it. You know, if there's a hole, there's a worm, it's just toast. There's no cutting out the bad part with a cherry. You know, it's just not worth it, since it's such a small fruit. But anyway, that's something I'll have to be probably prioritizing pretty quickly, because the birds are going to town on it. And pretty soon it will be actual time for us to harvest, to be really sweet instead of having that tartness to it. So anyway, apple tree is looking good. I'm so happy that it's not that I thinned it out and I can see some of the sky through there. It's not quite where it needs to be as far as that goes. There's a lot of overlapping and stuff, but it makes it so much easier to see the fruit now because I can see the parts the fruit that I didn't thin, and I'll be able to go back and find it and thin it. It's much easier when you can see the fruit instead of just seeing a mass of leaves. So I can see that, there were places, I think back over here, that you can see up here. There's a cluster two clusters I didn't thin. There's one there, there's one there. And so they're just kind of hard to see when it's all green. But now that they're getting bigger, I'll be able to go back and grab them. I grab my scissors and take those 5 and make them one apple. Leave just one. And there's clusters there, but it's just very nice to be able to see through there that I can, so that I can do that instead of just not noticing until they're big and have potential for problems. There's a little bit of leaf damage here. I haven't quite seen that before, but it's not super extensive. But when I get in there to do the final thinning, I'll be able to examine again. And I haven't been able to really spend much time with fruit trees in the past month, so I really need to do that. With the peach here, those weird things sticking out, lots of leaves. The peaches have grown a lot, and it is June, and we do have the June drop going on. Even though I did thin them, there's still, you can see them there, a whole bunch of them on the ground. The tree just spits them out and dumps load. So once again, I spent 2 hours thinning this. Still didn't get a lot. We get it all done, but I do need to go back at some point because you can see an example of one that maybe I thinned. One that I thinned, every few. Well, obviously, see, didn't do a good job there. So easy to miss them. Here's a good example of what I wanted. One there, there, there. And then over here, one that did not get thinned, where there's 1, 2, there, doubles, triples, every few inches, all that stuff. So all that stuff needs to go, and I need to do that. So the fruit's setting, that's good. It's getting big, that's good too. But I just need to go in and thin what I need to get rid of. So here's the pear tree number 2. It's got kind of a funky shape. It's really hard to mow this part of the grass right now, with the cherry tree hanging down low, the apple, and then this pear. It's quite a challenge, so I have to figure out if I'm going to be able to leave this or whatnot, because this patch of grass is difficult to get to. And anyway, but so we've got some more clusters that I need to go in and thin. It's easier to see when the fruit's bigger, and it's starting to really grow into the apricot. And speaking of the apricot, it's big, it's huge. Lots of leaves and really no fruit, so I need to, at some point in time, go in here and give it a serious haircut this year, just because it's very, very tall and unwieldy. So I definitely have my work cut out for me, and that is the orchard. This first week in June. I'll just show you real quick the raspberries. They have if you look at them, basically it goes from over here where they were least mature next to the AC unit, they go up, and then they are horizontal, and then they just go up higher. These were obviously the most mature ones, oldest stuff, most dense stuff. But there are berries on here, and I had some the other day. They're delicious, but they are ripening already. So first week in June, and there we are. So those are there. As you can see, they have totally grown up, and I pulled this up again. If you remember, before the season started, before I put this mulch in, we pulled all the stuff out from basically here to the house, we pulled it all out. Everything, from all the way around. From here, on the side, on the back too, and now I grew back. This part and that part look the same, but I went in here one day and pulled that all out. I just haven't got over there to pull that out because it creates a mess. You can't get to the back side. So now it's still a cluster, but at least we can get in from both sides too. But we've got to thin this out for next year. I need to put my supports up to help keep the raspberries in line so they don't flop over, and because they can only grow up so tall before they flop over, and then they're, you know, hanging out in the yard and hanging out there, and it's really, really difficult to pick. But you can see the new ones, and you can tell they're new because they have the green stem on them, you know, and there's no fruit. So if you notice, all the fruit is on the short ones with the smaller leaves. The leaves are much smaller. These leaves are giant. These are small. And then that's where the fruit is. Because, once again, with these raspberries, these are the new canes from this year, and this is the canes from last year. And they only bear on canes from last year. And you can tell last year because of the woody stem. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but that's all woody. That's from last year. This is all green and flexible. That's from this year. So that's the other crazy thing. This is growth 1 year. This is about 5 feet. Anyway, we definitely need to space them out, thin them out, but they are producing, and so we will have some raspberries now. Not a whole lot right now, but it's amazing. It's the beginning of June, and we're having raspberries. And with the strawberries around front, we have those. There's a ton of them. Most of them are a little sweet. But the smaller ones we notice are not very sweet. The larger ones are. The problem is birds and insects love to eat them faster than we do. So they get out there and before they're quite ripe and eat them. So there's a whole lot of them that have damage. But we did get a few good ones the other day, so it's worth it. But it's amazing, like I said, the growth. If you look back up into the house there, that was all cleaned out and thrown down mulch, and that came back. So much work, but we'll have our fresh berries to reward us pretty soon here. So anyway, that is the orchard for this